You know, it's funny how people can walk away, but their hearts stay behind. Maybe he told you it was over. Maybe he ghosted. Maybe he said he needed space or wasn't ready. And in that moment, it felt like a door slammed shut. But here's the thing. Sometimes, when someone lets you go, it's not because they don't care. It's because they don't know how to handle how deeply they do. When a man walks away from a woman, he still loves. It's not always because he doesn't care. More often, it's fear that drives him. Fear of vulnerability, of not being enough, of not knowing how to meet her emotional depth. He convinces himself that leaving is the right thing to do, that she's better off without him, or that he needs to find himself first. But deep down, his heart doesn't let go. He may walk away physically, but emotionally, he stays entangled in the moments, the connection, and the love he wasn't brave enough to keep. Over time, the silence that once felt like peace becomes a loud reminder of what he's missing. He starts replaying memories, scrolling through old photos, remembering the laughter, the small rituals, and the emotional safety he once had been. Maybe he dates other people, but none of them feel quite right. There's always something missing, and it haunts him, because he knows, even if he doesn't say it, that no one sees him the way she did. No one connects to him with the same effortless warmth. She becomes a quiet H he carries in his chest, and yet his pride won't let him admit the truth. So he rewrites the story, telling himself it had to end, that it was for the best. But the regret builds slowly, especially at night, when his distractions fall away and only his thoughts remain. He remembers how she stayed when things were hard, how she loved him even in his mess, how she believed in him more than he believed in himself. That kind of love doesn't fade. It lingers, has been, and it lingers longest for the one who didn't know how to hold it, has been. But here's what she needs to understand. His heart holding on is not her responsibility. She is not required to carry his unfinished lessons or wait for his delayed realization. She deserves someone who chooses her fully, not someone who walks away and realizes her worth only in her absence. And by the time he understands what he lost, the apology has been. She will have already grown into someone who no longer waits for broken love to heal. She will have moved forward, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, because love should never leave you guessing. It should show up, stay, and grow, has been. Sometimes he doesn't realize what he had until the silence grows louder than your presence ever did. At first, the quiet seems peaceful, like freedom, like space, but slowly it becomes hollow. The absence of your messages, your laughter, your energy creates a void he didn't expect. He thought he could move on with ease, thought the routine of life would carry him forward. But instead, he finds himself pausing, reaching for his phone, only to remember there's nothing waiting. No good morning, no check-ins, no you. The calls have stopped. The chats no longer light up his screen. And in that stillness, it hits him. How much you filled his days without him even noticing. Now that you're gone, he starts to realize the weight of what he walked away from. It's not just about missing you. It's about recognizing that you were a source of comfort, encouragement, and understanding. You were consistent, you were real, and he begins to feel the discomfort of knowing he didn't value that when he had the chance. That calm, he thought, he wanted begins to haunt him. In quiet moments, during long drives, at night before sleep, on weekends when plans fall through. Your memory returns uninvited but undeniable. He replays old conversations in his head, laughs at things you once said, and wonders how you're doing. But he doesn't always reach out. Sometimes it's pride, apology has been. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's the guilt of knowing he might be too late. What he doesn't understand is that by the time he truly feels your absence, you've already started healing. You've already begun to rediscover your own rhythm, your own voice without him in it. And as he finally realizes what he lost, you are learning that peace isn't found in silence after love ends. It's found in choosing yourself over the echo of someone who didn't stay. There are moments when he finds himself reaching for his phone late at night, not to call or message you, but to scroll through the memories that still live there. The photos, the old screenshots, the saved messages, they become a time machine back to when things felt simple and real. He doesn't do it to move on. He does it to feel you again, even if only for a second. Each image brings a wave of emotion he can't explain because it's not just about missing you. It's about craving a connection he once took for granted. He may not tell anyone about these moments. In fact, he might laugh it off if asked. But deep down, it's become a pattern, a quiet ritual. Nostalgia has taken root in his heart like a habit he can't shake. He revisits the places you once went together or plays songs that remind him of your time. It's subtle, but it's constant. You became a feeling, not just a person. A feeling he's trying to relive, even when he knows he shouldn't. When he sees someone wearing your favorite color, or hears someone use a phrase you often said, it strikes a chord. Little things now carry unexpected meaning, and he's left wondering why he notices these things more now than he ever did before. It's because memory has a funny way of sharpening after loss. What he once looked past, he now clings to. You left a mark on his life, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, unforgettable one. Even though he might try to move forward, part of him keeps looping back. He may be with someone new, going through the motions, trying to convince himself he's over it. But there's a restlessness in him, a sense that something's missing. It's you. And no matter how much time passes, those digital memories, those mental flashbacks, remind him that some connections don't fade. They just live in the background, waiting to be felt again. He may try to move on by dating other women, telling himself that starting fresh is the best way to forget. And at first, it might even look like he's doing just that. He goes on dates, smiles in pictures, engages in conversations, but deep down, there's a quiet emptiness he can't quite name. He laughs, but not the way he used to with you. There's a certain lightness missing, something that used to come naturally when you were around. The new faces might distract him, but they don't replace the bond he lost. As time passes, he begins to notice similarities between these women and you. Maybe it's the way one of them speaks, or how she tilts her head when she's listening, or how she wears her hair a certain way. For a moment, it feels familiar, like you're right there again. But the resemblance fades quickly, and it only serves as a reminder that they aren't you. They are almost like you in fragments, but they don't carry your essence, your presence, or that deep emotional intimacy he once shared with you. This realization doesn't hit him all at once. It creeps in slowly, moment by moment, when he least expects it. During a quiet dinner, in the middle of a conversation, he finds his mind drifting back to something you once said or did. He might even compare them to you in his head, noticing how no matter how kind or beautiful they are, something always feels off. It's not their fault. It's just that connection can't be duplicated. Chemistry isn't about finding someone similar, apology has been. It's about the irreplaceable spark that once existed without trying. He may never say it out loud once the apology has been, but he starts to understand that what he had with you wasn't ordinary. It wasn't something that can be recreated with someone new just because he wants to fill the space. There's a certain depth, a soul-level connection that only comes once in a lifetime. And the more he tries to find it again, the more he realizes how rare it truly was. What he lost wasn't just a relationship. It was something real. And now, almost you, just reminds him that the real thing is gone. The man who lets you go often rewrites the story in his mind, not because he's dishonest, but because it's easier than facing the truth. He tells himself things like, "It had to be done," or "It was better this way," to avoid the uncomfortable feeling of regret. It's a way to protect his pride and justify a decision he wasn't fully sure about. These mental justifications become his shield, allowing him to believe he acted with reason, even if a part of him quietly questions it. When he's with friends or out in public, he may appear confident and unaffected, as though he's made peace with everything. He might even speak as if he's moved on, throwing out casual phrases like, "It wasn't working," or "We wanted different things." But deep down, there are cracks in that story. Moments when he hears your name or stumbles upon an old photo, and a wave of truth rises that no excuse can drown out. It's in the quiet moments, late at night, alone in his room, when no one is around, that the truth begins to surface. That's when the regret becomes loud. It's when his mind replays all the times you stayed, listened, forgive, and gave more than you ever got back. He remembers how you believed in him, how you saw a version of him that he couldn't see in himself. And slowly, those late night thoughts begin to chip away at the version of the story he's been clinging to. Eventually, he realizes that letting you go wasn't the strength he once thought it was. It wasn't selfless or noble. It was fear. It was confusion. It was a lack of emotional maturity. And the hardest part for him is knowing that while he finally sees the truth, you're already learning how to live without him. You're healing, growing, and moving forward. Meanwhile, he's stuck replaying a story that he now wishes he had written differently. You didn't lose him. He lost you. And that truth carries more weight than he ever expected. In the beginning, he may have felt like the one in control, the one who made the decision. But time has a way of shifting perspective. As the days turn into weeks and the silence grows deeper, he begins to understand that walking away from someone who truly cared was not a victory. It was a loss, has been. The realization doesn't come with fireworks or sudden regret. It creeps in quietly, showing up in everyday moments that feel emptier without you. At first, he might have thought you would wait, He expected you to reach out, to check in, to miss him so deeply that you'd come chasing. But that didn't happen. Instead, you started focusing on yourself. You started healing, discovering strength you didn't know you had. You began realizing that your value was never tied to someone's inability to recognize it. And in doing so, you stepped into a version of yourself that no longer seeks validation from someone who couldn't hold your heart with care. While he's just beginning to see what he gave up, you are already building something better. Not necessarily with someone new, but within yourself. You're learning to love your own company, to enjoy your peace, to set standards that protect your heart. And the more you grow, the clearer it becomes. You never really lost anything. He was the one who couldn't meet you where you were. He was the one who chose distance over depth, confusion over clarity, silence over communication. That's the part that hurts him most, the timing. Because just he starts to realize what you meant to him, you're no longer in the same place you were when he left. You've evolved. You've healed. You've found your voice. And now, even if he were to come back, you wouldn't be waiting. Not out of resentment, but because you finally understand what you truly deserve. Apology has been. And losing you is something he'll carry long after you've stopped looking back. Love isn't proven in the easy moments when everything feels light, fun, and effortless. It's shown in the difficult times. When misunderstandings happen, when patience is tested, when life feels uncertain. You were willing to stand by him through all of that. You didn't run when things got complicated. You stayed, listened, forgave, apology, and tried. You were ready to weather the storm together because that's what real love does. It doesn't flinch when things get hard. It leans in even closer. But he only showed up for the sunshine. He was present when things were lighthearted, when love felt exciting and easy, when everything seemed perfect. The moment things became real, when vulnerability was needed, when effort was required, when emotional maturity was necessary, he pulled back. Maybe he got quiet. Maybe he distanced himself. Maybe he left. Whatever his reaction, it made one thing clear. He wasn't ready for the kind of love that stays when things aren't picture perfect. That's not your failure. It's not a reflection of your worth or how much you gave. You brought your whole heart to the table, even when it hurt. You showed what it means to love someone deeply, even when they made it difficult. That takes strength, and not everyone is capable of that kind of emotional depth. She has been. Some people know how to receive a love that's pure because they haven't learned how to give it themselves. And instead of rising to meet you, he retreated. Now, he may realize that love isn't just about being there for the good times. Maybe it will hit him that what you offered was rare. But by the time that truth sinks in, it might be too late, because the love you gave wasn't just about moments. It was about commitment. And now the apology has been. You're learning that the kind of love you gave deserves someone who shows up for both the sunshine and the storm. Someone who doesn't run when the sky darkens, but stands beside you and says, "We'll get through this together." Even though he may not say it, he still carries you with him in the quietest parts of his day. It shows in the way he pauses when a familiar song comes on, the one you both used to sing without caring who was listening. He might pretend it doesn't affect him, but deep down, that melody tugs at something he's tried to bury. Music, smells, phrases you used. These little things have become constant reminders of a connection he can't shake off, no matter how far he tries to run. There's a coffee shop he doesn't go to anymore, not because he found a better one, but because that was your spot. The place where conversations flowed effortlessly, where laughter came easy, and where time always felt like it moved a little slower. Now, even driving past, it feels heavier than it should. It holds pieces of you, and instead of comforting him, those memories remind him of what once felt like home and is now just a memory he can't return to. The way you once joked about his morning hair, or the habit you had of texting him. When it rained, those moments live on in his mind like echoes. He tries to brush them off, but sometimes he catches himself smiling at something only you would understand. That's the thing about deep emotional bonds. They don't leave all at once. They linger in routines, in inside jokes, in ordinary moments that now feel incomplete. He's dancing to a rhythm that once included you, and without realizing it, he still moves to that beat. But now the dance feels off, as if something essential is missing. It's not that he can't live without you. People eventually adapt, but the version of life he's living now doesn't feel as alive, as rich, or as real. Because the truth is, you weren't just part of his days. You became the music in them. And now, without you, all that's left is silence pretending to be enough. If he ever reaches out again, it won't be because he's transformed into someone new overnight. It won't be the result of some grand realization that suddenly gave him emotional depth and maturity. More often, it's because the silence you left behind has become unbearable. The absence of your presence has grown louder than the noise of his distractions, and louder than the voice of his pride. What once felt like control to him now feels like emptiness. And slowly, the space where you used to be becomes impossible to ignore. He might send a casual message, acting like nothing happened. He could try to reopen the door with light conversation, hoping you'll step right back in like before. But the truth is, the person he knew is no longer standing there. You've changed, not in a bitter, hardened way, but in a way that comes from healing, growth, and clarity. You're no longer in the same emotional space that once kept you hoping and waiting. You've discovered your own value, and it has quietly reshaped how you allow people to treat you. Where once you may have been quick to forgive and open your heart, now you pause. Now you listen more closely to actions than words. His return, no matter how sincere it might appear, no longer holds the same power over you, because you've seen what it looks like when someone has the chance to love you and walks away from it. That lesson changed you. It reminded you that love isn't real if it disappears when it's needed most. You've stopped craving potential and started seeking consistency. So if he ever comes back, he may not find the same softness waiting for him. Not because you've become cold, but because you've become clear. You've stepped into your strength, and with it came the realization that not everyone who misses you deserves another chance. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not reopen the door, but simply walk past it without looking back. Because healing doesn't mean welcoming the past again. It means honoring who you became because of it. When someone lets you go, but their heart never truly does, it can create confusion in your mind and heaviness in your heart. You might wonder if their lingering feelings mean something, if it's a sign that you should reconsider, or if love is still possible between you. But the truth is, just because someone still thinks about you, misses you, or even regrets losing you, doesn't mean it's your responsibility to carry that weight. Their unresolved emotions are not a signal for you to return. They're simply a reflection of what they were not ready to appreciate when it truly mattered. It's tempting to believe that their feelings somehow validate your worth, but your value was never in question. You were enough then, and you are still enough now. The difference is that you've grown into someone who understands love is more than words or memories. It's about presence, consistency, and effort. If someone couldn't choose you when you were available, when your heart was open, and your love was pure, then it's not your burden to help them make sense of that loss now. Healing isn't about waiting for the other person to wake up and see what they missed. It's about realizing that their realization isn't necessary for your peace. You don't have to pause your life hoping they'll come to terms with their mistake. You don't need an apology to move on. You've already done the hard part. You loved, you let go, and you learned. What they do with their regret is their journey. Yours is to keep moving in the direction of wholeness, where love is not a lesson, but a mutual exchange. And while they may remain stuck, looking back, replaying moments, and wondering what could have been, you are free to walk forward with clarity. You're not defined by the person who couldn't choose you. You are defined by your ability to love deeply, to rise after being let go, and to hold your head high without needing someone else's closure. That is your strength, and that is your freedom. Let them carry their lesson while you continue writing a new chapter without them.